Alright guys, Jameson and Alex here, coming at you with the next video from Urge. Today we're going to be talking about our top 10 Aberration Monsters.
Yes, and when we say top 10, these are going to be our top 10 favorites.
Yes.
Not saying necessarily the best, the strongest, the weakest. It's going to be a combination of flavor, uniqueness, powers. We get to bigger stuff, and we try to spread it around through different CRs.
Yes,
We're not
so it's
just
like all high.
Otherwise, it would all be like all 13, 14 pluses because you just get like all the biggest, baddest things. So we're definitely going to find some lower level CR stuff to keep things interesting.
A new giveaway.
The D&D Beyond Players Bundle.
Tons of character options.
Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment down below on the video so you're entered to win a great giveaway coming from us very soon. Let's get weird. So, if you thought we were going to skip our mascot,
what are you doing?
You're wrong. So, leading off at a CR of 1/8.
Yes.
Is the Flumph.
What
That's
else
right.
could it be?
That's what else could it be? And you're thinking, why would you do it? Well, it's like, well, there's actually a couple very interesting things, both lore-wise and ability-wise. It's actually a lawful good aberration. So flavor, that's very interesting and extremely unique. Like, wait a minute, that says lawful good for an aberration? What in the world? So that, very unique. Again, telepathic shroud. The Flumph is immune to any effect that would sense its emotions, read its thoughts, or be affected by divination spells. So you can't do anything with this thing with its mind. It's a smart guy.
Impenetrable.
Of course, then there's the funny thing of prone deficiency. If it's not prone, it has to roll a die, like a saving throw to even try to turn itself right up. That's hilarious. And it has a little attack it does, but the funny thing on its actions is the stench prey. Once per day, 15-foot cone, DC of 10, but this is a CR of 1/8, so. And its creature exudes a horrible stench for 1d4 hours, and the creature is poisoned. It doesn't even do any damage. But it's like, could you imagine, like, your guy fails the saving throw, your friend fails the saving throw, he's just going to just reek of absolute death for, like, 2 hours.
Yeah, and it affects creatures that stand next to the creature.
Right, so yeah, it's so potent, so awful, that you stand next to somebody else, and it affects them.
Yes.
So
it's hacking.
So yeah, again, CR of 1/8, the lawful good alignment, just makes you smell the high heaven, and you can't screw with his brain, but it can be knocked up on its backside and it has a hard time. It's based like a floating turtle.
Yes. And well, the last thing I want to say too is, it does say that they drift through the Underdark, which you could potentially throw one of these in as like a guide.
Yeah.
For a party going into the Underdark. So fun stuff on there.
Next up, at a CR of 2. Is the Berbalang. Very scary looking creature. Look, I'm thinking like a bat, little bat guy with his little goatee looking thing.
You would think it's a fiend or a devil or something.
Yeah, devil demon, something in there. Yeah, it would have to be, but it's not. It's actually an aberration, which is interesting. But what brings this thing into the interesting in terms of why it made this list is a couple of things. It has the ability Spectral Duplicate. After a short or long rest, ability recharges a bonus action, creates a spectral duplicate of itself in an unoccupied space within 60 feet of it. While the duplicate exists, the Berbalang is unconscious. Berbalang can only have one duplicate at a time. The duplicate disappears when it or the Berbalang drops to 0 hit points and dismisses it. Duplicate has the same statistics and knowledges as the original Berbalang. Everything experienced by the duplicate is known by the Berbalang. All damage dealt by the duplicate's attacks is also psychic damage.
Ouchie.
So it's like create a version of itself, and it can hide in whatever area it wants to and fight you. And then like, oh, you beat it, and then an hour later it's chased you down, and the actual one's going to fight you again. And at will, it can speak with the dead and can even plane shift itself once per day. Outside of that, the attacks aren't anything too crazy, but it also has a flying speed. So CR of 2, it can fly around, it can duplicate itself and cause psychic damage. It can be maybe a little early recurring mini boss in the campaign because you fight its duplicate and then it chases you down anyway and you fight itself. So there's very interesting flavor to be had there and a very cool, unique monster at a CR2.
Yeah, and I think part of the flavor-wise that I like about this one is it says it's obsessed with gathering secrets. And it prefers to speak only to dead things, hence the speak with dead effort.
Right.
So you can really do some kind of creepy stuff, and it gains knowledge and secrets from those that have perished.
Right.
So you can kind of pull it through, like if it's in a graveyard or like a mass grave or something where there's a bunch of bodies, and it keeps trying to gain a bunch of secrets and knowledge through that. And you can do some interesting things flavor-wise on there.
Oh, yes.
Then we also have at CR2 the Gibbering Mouther.
That thing's just ugly as sin.
Yeah, it's a nice little buddy on here. I picked this one because I think it is hilarious and terrible at the same time.
It's got an armor class of 9.
Yeah, it covers the ground in a 10-foot radius in a doe-like difficult terrain, right?
Right.
Each creature starts its turn in the area must succeed a DC 10 strength saving throw or have its speed reduced to 0 until the start of its next turn.
Ugh.
So essentially, if you don't find this thing originally, or it kind of like you run into a hallway and then it like floats down and it's kind of like ooze style, like slowly going down the dead end of a hallway. But if you get close to it, you can get locked prone before you get to. You can't even hit it,
right?
Because you can get like 10 feet out from being locked on. Anyway.
Yep.
And then it also has the Gibbering. The Mouther babbles incoherently while it can see any creature that isn't incapacitated. Each creature starts its turn within 20 feet of the Mouther and can hear the Gibbering. Must succeed a 10 Wisdom saving throw. On a fail, creature can't take reactions until the start of its next turn and rolls a d8 to determine what it does during its turn. On a 1 to 4, the creature does nothing. On a 5 to 6, the creature takes no action or bonus action and uses all its movement to move in a random direction. On a 7 or 8, the creature makes a melee attack against a randomly determined creature within its reach, or does nothing if it can't make such an attack. So, hilarious and terrible. So, you try to get close to it, you get within 20 feet, it does its little gibbering, you have to make a wisdom save. If you get past the 20 feet to the 10 feet, you gotta make a strength save to be, or not restrained, but essentially grappled. Your speed becomes 0. And also, it has blinding spittle, recharging on a 5 or 6. It spits a chemical glob at a point you can see within 15 feet of it. The glob explodes in a blinding flash, requiring a DC 13 Dex save, or be blinded until the end of the Mouther's next turn. So you're blinded, you can't move, and you're randomly acting and attacking allies. Hilarious and terrible at the same time. So big fan of this one. It does only have 10-foot movement speed, so you can kite it or run away from it. But that's what I'm saying. If it's set up to where it's in a hallway or something, these things got to eat. They got to have some kind of, even though their intelligence is super low, they would know how to,
it's basic survival.
They have to know how to do some stuff like that. So, big fan of that one.
So, next up, CR3 out of the Aberration book. Just kind of let you know where these are coming from, so you're trying to go back and read them more in detail yourself. The old Dolgaunt, he's got a couple of interesting abilities. As you see the stat blocks up there on the screen, but what sticks out for him is at a CR3, he has evasion. Not a lot of monsters specifically get the evasion. A lot of bigger stuff will have like magic resistance, with the evasion on their saving throws against magical effects and things. But a CR3, because I'm imagining like a party full of level 3, you're throwing your biggest spell to try to knock this thing down a peg. Like, dexterity saving throw, I succeed. No damage. You're like, wait, what?
Yeah, it feels bad.
That can be a very, very rough wake up call to an early party if they kind of feeling themselves a little bit too early. Like, spellcaster, take this. Multi attack, which also is CR3, is a little more uncommon. Still exists, but not too bad. But a tentacle reach of 15 feet and can grapple people. So that's there. Not a ton of damage, but a 15-foot reach is a lot of melee range. And the last thing, creature grappled by the tentacle of the Dolgaunt must make a DC 11 Constitution saving throw. On a failed save, target takes 2d8 necrotic damage, and the Dolgaunt regains a number of hit points equal to half the necrotic damage taken. So it's got a little vitality drain, sucking some health back into itself. So at a CR3, you've got evasion helping, but it also can grapple stuff from 15 feet away and suck their health out. So interesting abilities that you don't see at monsters that low of a CR.
Right. Next up, we have CR5 Mindwitness. And you might have been thinking, well, of course they're going to put a Mind Flayer on there. Of course they're going to put a Beholder on there. No. Those are too obvious.
Right.
Why not do a Mind Flayer Beholder?
Yes.
This creature, the Mindwitness, is when a Beholder is stunned and brought to the brine pool of an Elder Brain and converted through Ceramorphous into a Mindwitness.
Ugh.
So essentially, it is an Illithid Beholder.
Yeah.
Fun stuff.
Ew.
So, that being said, it has Telepathic Hub, which means it can telepathically share messages with up to 7 creatures within 600 feet. So,
wow,
that's nice. Also has multi-attack because why not? And of course, it wouldn't be a Beholder if it didn't have eye rays. So you have 6 different options for the eye rays on here that can hit 3 targets within 120 feet of it with its eye rays. And you're re-rolling at random. Duplicates are re-rolled. First is the Aversion Ray. DC 13 Charisma save. Creature has disadvantage on attack rolls for 1 minute, repeating the save at the end of each of its turns. At 2, we have Fear Ray. DC 13 Wisdom save or Frightened for 1 minute. Target can repeat the save at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect on a success. At a 3, we have Psychic Ray, which is a 13 Intelligence saving throw.
Each time I see the word Intelligence saving throw, it makes me cringe a little.
Yeah. 6d8 psychic damage.
Ouch.
Ouchie. Slowing Ray. DC 13 Dex save.
Ow.
On a fail, creature speed is halved for 1 minute. Creature can't take reactions and can't take either an action or bonus action, but not both. Creature can repeat the save at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect on a success. At a 5, we get Stunning Ray, DC 13 Con save or stunned for a minute, repeating at the end of its turn.
No.
Or a 6, Telekinetic Ray, making a 13 Strength save. On a failed save, the Mindwitness moves up to 30 feet in any direction, and it is restrained by the Ray's telekinetic grip until the start of the Mindwitness's next turn, or until the Mindwitness is incapacitated.
Ooh.
If the target is an object weighing 300 pounds or less and isn't being worn or carried, it can move the creature 30 feet in any direction. Mindwitness can also exert fine control on objects with this ray, such as manipulating a simple tool or opening a door or container. So it can, it's basically telepathic, throwing stuff around or,
yes.
or hitting creatures, stuff like that. So fun stuff on there. Indeed, out of Volos.
Oh, it's out of Volos. Okay,
yes, it's an older school.
Okay, she's had a little gem in Volos that I don't recall off the top of my head.
Then we have at 8 CR the old Cloaker.
Oh, this
guy's a great, good buddy on
and
here.
a basic rules guy too. So he's been around for forever and a day.
He's been around for a while on here. With this bad boy, we got a bite attack that when it hits a creature, it attaches to it.
Yeah.
If the Cloaker has advantage against the target, the Cloaker attaches to the target's head, and the target is blinded and unable to breathe while the Cloaker is attached. While attached, Cloaker can make its attack only against the target and has advantage on the attack roll. Cloaker can detach itself by spending 5 feet of movement, including the target can take actions to attach the Cloaker by succeeding a 16 strength check. So, pretty hilarious on there. And it does specify it has to be a large or smaller creature to attach to it. It also can tail attack. It has a moan. Creature within 60 feet that can hear it must succeed a DC 13 Wisdom save or become frightened. And of course, if it succeeds, it is immune for 24 hours. Pretty normal for those kind of things. And it has Phantasms, which you can use once per short or long rest. Magically creates 3 illusionary duplicates of itself, and if it isn't in bright light. Duplicates can move with it and mimic its actions, shifting position to make it impossible to track where the Cloaker is real. If the Cloaker is even in the area of bright light, the duplicate disappears. So it's going to do that and make it a little bit harder. It's kind of like a mirror image, essentially. Yeah. Whenever a creature hits it with an attack or a harmful spell, creature rolls it randomly to determine whether it targets the creature or a duplicate. Yep. So it's basically a mirror image.
Yep.
So that is what it is. It does have light sensitivity, though, so there is that. So it's going to be one of those things where you're trying to... It lets people use those daylight spells and things like that to give them some advantages against this creature.
Yep.
It does have false appearance, so it is pretty good at hiding. It has a +5 to stealth on here. And it has damage transfer, which is hilarious as well.
Oh,
while attached to a creature, Cloaker takes only half damage, rounded down, and the other creature that's attached to takes the other half. So if you're trying to beat this off of your friend, it's got it wrapped around his head and he can't breathe. Yeah. He's taking half the damage as well, so that's pretty funny.
Dirty. On to probably the most unusual looking thing on the list, I would say. In the, and I'm going to butcher this, Hashalaq Quori. There's a multiple of the Quarries. But this would be the strangest one and sometimes the most terrifying as we go down to this list here. So we do have some innate spellcasting with psionics, which is interesting when it comes in that way because it's coming through its intelligence. It's all mental stuff. Charm person at will, detect thoughts, disguise self, and suggestion. And then dominate person once a day.
Yay.
Yay. Has multi-attack, has its mind thrust ability. The Quori targets a creature, makes it 16 DC wisdom saving throw, taking 4d8 psychic damage on a failed or half as much on a successful. The other thing it has is a melee spell attack which causes force damage and can knock a creature prone in a fit of laughter. Not just prone, but like not because he's attacking the brain. And then this is where it gets scary and why it's really a CR9.
Yeah.
Possession. And not a once per day possession. Recharges on a 6. Like a breath weapon would. So a humanoid that it can see must succeed a DC 16, and unfortunately it says charisma saving throw. The only thing worse than a charisma saving throw is an intelligence saving throw. For the average, for most people, because charisma is one of those stats that if you're not using it combat-wise,
right, you're
probably not really caring about it all that much. On a failed save, the target is incapacitated and loses control of its body. The Quori now controls the body but doesn't deprive the target of awareness. So the whole time, you know that you don't have control over yourself. So just utter, what nightmares are made out of. The Quori can't be targeted by any spell, attack spell, or other effect and retains its alignment, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. An immunity to being charmed and frightened. It otherwise uses the possessed target statistics, but doesn't gain access to the target's knowledge, class features, or proficiencies. Right. Possession lasts till the body drops to 0 hit points. Quori ends the effect as bonus action, or the Quori is forced out by an effect like the Dispel Good and Evil spell. So it does leave some area of interpretation up for the DM to try to go somewhere. And when the possession ends, it just reappears somewhere else. The target. So once something has been possessed, it is immune to possession for a day. And finally, because we're not done, has a reaction. Whenever it takes damage from a creature within 60 feet, it can use its reaction to force and DC 16, intelligence saving throw, or take 2d10 psychic damage. So this thing will target intelligence saving throws with reaction damage, charisma saving throws to possess one of your party, or wisdom saving throws to take psychic damage and or be knocked on your butt with force damage. So all 3 different mental saves are attacked by this thing.
Yep.
Possessing, good damage. Not great damage in terms of the force damage, but it can knock you prone. So this paired with a big bruiser, even a lower CR, just big fat thing that can abuse that knocking stuff prone, would be terrifying. Yeah. But very interesting, and out of the Eberron book creates a very challenging foe, especially paired with something when you get in maybe the level 11, 12 party, you got this plus maybe 2 big fat things. Guard it be brutal. For sure. Next up, we have at CR 10, out of the good old-fashioned monster manual, the king of the demon frogs.
Something like that.
The death slots. And you'll see we got a little green slot sitting up here, so his angry uncle, the death slot. And for a couple things, it's a shape changer, so that's interesting there. It can use its action to polymorph into a small or medium humanoid or back to its true form. Its statistics other than the size stay the same, and it can do this at will. It doesn't say there's any limit to this. Has an 8 spell casting using its charisma. It's got some at will stuff, most of its detect magic, detect thoughts, which can be interesting. Invisibility on itself only at will is fun. It's got fireball, it's got fly, it's got cloud kill and plane shifts. It's doing all kinds of fun things. Yeah. It's doing all kinds of amazing things.
Putting death in the death slot.
That's right. Has magic resistance, so regeneration. It gains 10 hit points at the start of its turn as long as it has a hit point.
Yay.
Yay. It also has magic weapons in terms of overcoming resistances. If you have, if you're a subclass who has resistance to, non-magical bludgeoning, piercing, assassin damage, for example. It gets to ignore that, obviously. Has not 1, not 2, but 3 attacks with a bite that does piercing and necrotic damage, claws that does slashing and necrotic damage, and a great sword does slashing and necrotic damage. So it says you can 1 with a bite and 2 with its claw or great sword. So it's swinging at you, doing things plus spells. Solid AC and a solid amount of hit points plus the spells, making itself invisible if it really needs to. You can run away. It's got a little bit of everything for the angry demon frog at a CR10.
Yes, and I think one of the things that makes the slots interesting is how they do their birth and transformation cycles, where they plant eggs inside humanoids. It's kind of like alien style.
I wasn't going to bring that up.
You just blast Imagine you hire a guide or something to escort you, and then halfway through there's this explodes this death slot from their chest or something.
Cool story arc idea.
So fun stuff on there. For sure, for some surprise factor.
Yes.
Then we have at 11 CR, the Morkoth.
Ugh.
Fun little guy out here.
You find this the ugliest is sin stuff to put on these lists.
Yeah, I like them. They're terrifying. I mean, they're aberrations. They're alien. They're weird.
These things are designed to be ugly and strange, for sure.
So on here, it is a spellcaster, so there is that. It is primarily a...
Lots of spells.
Islandy, sea kind of creature, primarily. It does have some movement speed, but it is 50-foot swimming speed, so it is what it is.
Primarily a water creature.
So they have some spell casting. You got stuff like...
He said some spell casting. Good lord.
Yeah. You got some shields, some chain lightning, some dimension door, lightning bolt, dispel magic, shatter, Evard's black tentacles, scrying, so they can keep an eye on your party. Mm-hmm. All kinds of fun stuff on there, among other things. And then also can make 3 attacks, 2 with its bite, 1 with its tentacles, or 3 with its bite. Bite does some decent damage, tentacles do some decent damage, but also grapples the target. Yes. And the target is restrained while grappled. And they take extra damage at the start of their turn while they're in this condition. And then also they have a hypnosis, projecting a 30-foot cone of magical energy with a DC 17 wisdom saving throw. And they are charmed for 1 minute. While charmed, in this way, the target tries to get as close to the Morkoth as possible using its dash until it's within 5 feet of the Morkoth. Charmed target can repeat the save at the end of its turns and is immune on a successful save.
The thing I hate the most on this entire list.
I think it's pretty great. Reaction. Spell reflection.
Not magic resistance. Yep. Much worse.
If Morkoth makes a successful saving throw against a spell, or a spell attack misses, the Morkoth can choose another creature within 120 feet that it can see. The target becomes the new target of the spell. If the spell forced is a saving throw, the creature chosen makes its own save. If the spell is an attack, the attack roll is re-rolled against the chosen creature.
That's so terrifying.
You shoot a spell at this thing and you miss, your buddy's going to have it coming right back redirected at them. So
yeah, imagine like, a blight, you missed, or like, at least you see the saving throw. It's like, you have to blight your friend instead.
Yeah, and I think the fun thing about this one as well is it actually has a lair.
Right.
And it's not a legendary creature, which is pretty rare to have a lair and not be legendary.
I think the whole water thing helps out with that, like an underwater cavern.
Yeah.
Maybe a very cool thing to encounter.
Yeah.
Not that I would enjoy it, it's going to be a nightmare to deal with, but flavor-wise, it'd be a cool underwater thing.
Yeah, so it basically can use hypnosis as a lair action, or it can cast Dispel Magic Darkness or Misty Step. So not really too much going on with the lair on there. It does have some regional effects as well, so it is what it is. But again, it's just some stuff on the island kind of comes up. So some interesting ways to kind of pull that into your campaign for that. Mm-hmm. And then last but not least, we have
the home run swinger.
CR16 big boy, the Star Spawn Larva Mage from Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes.
Yes.
Creature has a spellcasting modifier of +8 with the charisma with a DC of 16. We can cast Eldritch Blast with 3 beams, +3 bonus to each. Can cast Dominate Monster 3 times a day.
That's a level 8 spell.
And Circle of Death once a day.
Yep.
When the Larva Mage is reduced to 0 hit points, it breaks apart into a swarm of insects. Unless the entire swarm is destroyed, the Larva Mage reforms 24 hours later.
So, your party doesn't know that. Again, recurring boss fight.
Yep. There is on there. Not to mention all the resistances it has on here, which, BPS for non-magical is pretty common. Cold, sure, whatever, immunity. But the immunity to conditions is pretty nice as well.
Yes, it is.
Then we have for our actions, a slam attack with a DC 19 con save attached to it to be poisoned, which fun stuff on there. And then a Plague of Worms that recharges on a roll of 6. Each creature other than the Star Spawn within 10 feet of it must succeed a DC 19 Dex save or take 22 5d8 necrotic damage and be blinded and restrained by masses of swarming worms.
Ugh.
The affected creature takes 5d8 necrotic damage at the start of each of the Larva Mage's turns. Creature can repeat the saving throw at the end of its turns and with the effect on itself. Also, we have a reaction. Feed on the weakness. When a creature within 20 feet of the Larva Mage fails a saving throw, the Larva Mage regains 10 temporary hit points.
Yes.
So whenever you're failing, you're just giving him more strength. And of course, we get some legendary actions, which is a little strange considering we don't have legendary resistances.
Yeah.
On there, so I like some little bit of weirdness on here. There are aberrations.
So he's more offensive, not defensive.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he does get 3, and 2 of them cost 2, and 1 of them costs 3. So he's not able. He can only do
1 a turn. Essentially.
1 a turn instead of 3. 1 is a cantrip, 1 is a slam attack, and then the 3 cost 1. Each creature restrained takes 3d8 necrotic damage, and the Larva Mage gains 6 temporary hit points. Mm-hmm. So, big boy, making life difficult, and can come back if you don't kill those little bugs.
Yeah,
once he is killed. So we made it through our aberrations, the alien, strange creatures from outside.
Yeah, and there's definitely some other interesting ones on the list for sure.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of
there's a lot of fun things you do. So definitely let us know in the comments down below. What your favorite aberration is, why it's probably a beholder or a mind flayer, or for you people that are creative, why it's not one of those. It's something else all entirely.
Yes, there's a lot of good ones on here that we didn't get to go over.
Absolutely,
but we wanted to
including
this little.
Yeah, I felt that was maybe a mistake on our part, but
I mean, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
There's a lot of good ones on here. So
there is.
Guys, that's going to wrap it up for today. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications so you know our new videos are coming out. Always love to read your comments down below. And as always, guys, thanks for watching.